Well, we recorded something like 89 million passengers in 2019 before the pandemic. It will take us a little while to get back to that number, but the forward booking numbers that we're looking at now are very, very strong for the summer. Beyond May, things are picking up very dramatically. So I think we'll end the year somewhere around the 57 million mark, quite a way short of the total numbers. But I hope that's a conservative estimate. We're certainly gearing up for an incredibly busy period over the next few months. And obviously the news that more and more countries are relaxing their travel restrictions couldn't come at a better time.
Indeed, we are seeing more countries opening up and easing those travel restrictions. Paul, Australia is among them today. No doubt that's welcome news for you, but what is it going to mean for the airport when a country like Australia returns to normal operational travel for tourists?
Well, I think, first of all, it's an incredibly strong precedent to set because the Asian and Australasian markets, which are obviously key for Dubai, both from a visitor perspective and from a transfer perspective, are incredibly important. 2.8 million passengers, for example, traveled through Dubai en route to Australia in 2019. So we've missed those visitors, and we're very much looking forward to seeing them. But I think the thing is, this is an important precedent because we believe that other countries around the world are now looking at what the more progressive nations are doing and actually opening up their restrictions because they believe that it's now safe to do so. And Australia's example is going to be a very powerful lead to follow.
I also wanted to ask you about what's happening in the UK, which is a critical route for Dubai airports and the UAE. Boris Johnson unveiling the UK's living with COVID strategy today, including ending all legal restrictions put in place to curb the virus. The opposition says he's declaring victory before the war is over. It is a risky move, isn't it, Paul?
Well, I think the thing is, look, we live in a world where risks exist all the time, and it's a question of balance because, of course, we've seen the damage that the lack of travel opportunities for people have done, not just economically, but socially, and of course the unrest that that's created and the disappointment to families around the world. So people need to take a sensible position, and I think the UK has adopted a sensible position. We now know that later variants of the virus are less life-threatening than previous variants, and we've got to transition between living in fear of the virus and actually living with it and knowing that we can manage it. And I believe the UK has taken the lead and suggested, similar to the UAE with their vaccine program, they are in that position to be able to do so.
Paul, what can countries like the UAE do, though, to mitigate the risk of virus transfer? Obviously, we're going to see the UK opening up. You say you support that, but there is still a real risk here that countries could have perhaps a flow-on effect with regards to infections as a result. Your response?
Well, I think the UAE's taken a really good position on this. For example, we were very early to lead in terms of rollout of the vaccine. That's been followed by an equally progressive booster program. And remember, we built very early on the world's largest on-airport PCR testing lab. So we're still testing a large number of passengers every single day as they arrive at DXB. So we'll do this on a risk basis. We've got the capacity to be able to respond very quickly to changing trends. So that balance between allowing tourism to recover, which is so vital for the global economy, not just for Dubai, as well as making sure the city stays safe and we stop the progression of the virus.
Indeed, and we have been easing restrictions here in the UAE. Paul, for how much longer do you think we are going to see social distancing and in particular mask wearing staying in place on the ground here?
I know that those measures are being reviewed at the moment, and I expect an announcement fairly soon about the gradual relaxation of restrictions. For travel, it couldn't come soon enough, and the world is ready to become mobile and get back on an aeroplane and see their family and friends and to do those vital business deals across the world. So I think over the next few weeks, there'll be some dramatic changes, and we will welcome them.
And testing on the ground at the airport, is that likely to stay in place?
It's still in place. We have the capacity to do it. We need to remain vigilant and aware, and we will apply it, I think, in line with guidelines as things progress. So we're still able to test inbound and outbound and that facility will remain in place. But hopefully the need for it will recede fairly shortly.